Welcome, Lund loyalists, YouTubers watching on John Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective. Those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple and Spotify. It's John Lund Unleashed and JohnLundUnleashed.com. Brought to you by Riopel Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. Right now featuring amazing stem cell technology. For all your pain and for the guys, check out the latest in low T and testosterone therapy to make you feel like yourself again. Riopel Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center at riopelcosmetic.com. Now, all juiced up and ready to go. Here's Johnny.
Good morning, laddies. It is March 17th. I don't know if the color comes across. This is more like an olive or an army green, but it's all I got. And I thought I had like a Guinness hat or something, but I don't. I don't know. I must have lost them. You know, over the years, I lose a bunch of stuff. I hoard things and I lose them. And then we did go out last night for nice St. Patty's. Get together last night. It was very nice. Tell you all about that today. And I got a lot of good St. Patrick's Day stories from years and years of doing radio, live shows in bars, especially in Detroit when I did morning shows. I got some really good stories as far as drunkenness on March 17th. But happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy Monday. I hope everybody is doing absolutely outstanding on this St. Patrick's Day 2025. I hope you have something fun planned today. It is episode 90. If you're new to the show, thank you for making the time for the program, John Lund Unleashed. If you go to YouTube, that's where you could be watching and hanging out in the chat room with all the friends, and we'll do the roll call in just a second. But John Lund Unleashed, please make sure that you're subscribed, you have those alerts on, and you give us the thumbs up because that helps the algorithm. Bay Area Sports Collective, BASC, Bay Area Sports Collective on YouTube. Please make sure that you're subscribed there as well. I know I'm asking a lot. At John Lund Radio on X, at John Lund Radio on Instagram. In fact, I didn't hit Instagram live yet. They make you do one extra step. So hang on a second, because then I've done that before where it's like I'm not live there, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I forgot to hit live on Instagram. So we're live on Instagram now because I just hit that button. We're on Twitch anyway. You can find us Facebook, but we'd love you to be on the YouTube channel at John Lund Unleashed, wherever you get your favorite podcast as well. After the show, we hit a button. Magically, you get a podcast of the show as well. So if you want to take us on the run in your car, that is awesome. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast, that's where we are, John Lund Unleashed. Episode 90, 10 away from 100 as we go juice by the numbers. And I like Kyle Juszczyk, but I did a piece over the weekend on just doesn't make a whole lot of sense football-wise, but it does make a lot of sense PR-wise, and yes, teams do that. So I wrote a piece about it. Get into that. Do not love the Jordan Mason trade, I guess you call it, to the Vikings. It wasn't very expensive, but Christian McCaffrey's coming off an Achilles. Do I think Isaac Guerrero is ready to be the number 2 back? Not so much. And then everybody says, well, they can just draft one. It's like, well, they can draft a defensive lineman and an edge and an offensive tackle and a guard and a linebacker and a safety and a corner. Like they need, it's like, let's just add to the list. You already had a really good backup running back. And I know that it came down to, as far as Mason's concerned, he wanted a chance to be a starter, and I get it. But dude, sorry, we have you. So we want to keep you. Sorry. But I would have loved to have had him have a bigger role. He's a north-south runner. I really like the guy. He led the NFL in rushing for a number of weeks early in the season, and you just hand him to the Vikings for basically a pick swap, and then next year a 6th-round pick. I don't love it. You put a 2nd-round tender. Why don't you put like a 4th-round tender on him so you could actually, okay, that's what we're going to realistically get, because you were never going to get a 2nd-rounder. I don't like a pick swap and a 6th-rounder, but whatever. We'll get into that later. The big story of the day is the Nuggets are in town. The Creamy Nougats are in town to take on the Warriors. That is a massive game, and I'll tell you why in just a second. Find your own thing, Dre. He did the night-night, and my fear is that everybody's going to do the night-night, then Steph is going to have to stop. It was kind of a cool bit. And then what's going to happen is it's going to jump the shark, and everybody's going to be doing it. And Dre, find your own thing, bro. It's like, that's Steph's deal, not yours. Maybe I'm nitpicky on that. Told you on Moody, we'll get into that. The Giants rotation, Mr. Birdsong yesterday was outstanding. I don't know how he's not a part of the rotation. And I keep saying this thing about Jordan Hicks, 7th inning. They got plenty of guys for the rotation. And I think that, with what Birdsong specifically has shown, I can't imagine that he's not a part of the rotation. We'll do that. It is tourney time, as Ralph used to say. We got tourney time. I got the bracket for you. I'd like to know how much you're into it. Random things, which we always do throughout the show. You can send me into randoms supers, or any other way to get your comments on the line. And the Sweet Clean Family Friendly Caboose Pistol will finish things off today. Let me say hello to everybody on this Monday morning. Hopefully you've got something going on. I got to be honest with you. I don't have a whiskey here, although I have some behind me. So probably before we get out of here, even though it is morning time and some people think, oh, can't do that. But it is St. Patrick's Day, so I think we can. But I had a good time last night. We'll tell you about it. Baba Booey says, good morning. Happy St. Patrick's Day. That is beautiful. Absolutely. By the way, I got that fixed, so I stay on the screen. I don't know what was going on there for a minute, but John Holmes has already weighed in with Florida all the way. I do have to pop up the bracket because I do this every year. I'm going to watch more college basketball. I'm going to watch more college basketball. Then I don't. And then the last 2 weeks are like tournament time. They get into the tournaments and stuff. And then I watch it like crazy. So we'll get into that as well. But anyway, very, very nice. It is good to see you. Skills, you're the best. Hurley is here. Jeff, I did get your email. I'll get back to you on that. Pine Needle, hello. Thank you for joining us. AJ, Fiend. I'm just going to call you Fiend. 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 It is good to see you today. Who else do we have here today? AJ. I just said AJ. Ernesto Ron. I haven't seen Ernesto Ron in a while. It is great to see you, my friend. See if I can get Ernesto Ron on the board or if it's just not going to work for me today. There we go. Ernesto, very nice to see you. Lindbergh, Christopher, it is nice to see you. Good morning, my friend. Gabrielle, Vernon, Joy is the best. Keeping the faith. Juice is no longer worth the squeeze. If you read the piece, and again, it's not personal on the dude. It's actually not even his fault. And I wrote about it. I said, it's not your fault, dude. But I did the breakdown that we all kind of know, but I just went over the numbers of it. They just don't utilize the guy. Sports Girl for Life, it is wonderful to see you. Francis, hello. JJ Raider, good morning. 49ers faithful. Jazz fan is here too. So absolutely great attendance on a Monday morning, especially given the fact that you may have gone out last night. Me personally, we I don't know. I guess we called it hey, let's just do an hour. We'll do a happy hour on a Sunday night. Hey, Rock and New Hour, good to see you. We were just going to do a happy hour, just real quick, and then we went into this bar, and they had, I don't know why, but on a St. Patrick's Day Sunday night, they had a DJ. And they had the corned beef going. And I don't know what your thoughts on corned beef are. I had a wonderful corned beef sandwich. I mean, it was really good. And probably this is like Thanksgiving. Like, I never eat corned beef, right? Like, in my a couple of my friends had the whole meal going on. And it was like specifically all corned beef related type things. And like I said, if I was in a sandwich shop, it's not like I would go, yeah, corned beef, I got to have that. No, a pastrami maybe, something like that. But I just didn't think about it. But it had the Grey Poupon, and it was very nice. Nice bread, like a marbled type of rye type thing going on, which was very tasty. It was nice. Like I said, I wouldn't do corned beef on the regular, but it was a nice corned beef sandwich. I got to say, it was very nice. And then people started doing Jamesons. So we started doing Jamesons with Guinness last night, which was nice. And then finished it off with a nice Screwball, the peanut butter whiskey. I don't know if you like that. But did one of those to finish off the night, which I probably didn't need to do. But the thing that was nice about last night, and I'm a big fan of day drinking, although this wasn't really much of a day drinking kind of a thing. It started at maybe, no, I guess it was. It started like 4:30. I don't know what you would consider day drinking. That's evening. That's like happy hour drinking. Day drinking is more like, noon plus. So I don't know what I would call 4:30. I guess it's day drinking technically, right? But we were done by 6:30. Or 7 o'clock, which is cool. What's cool about that is you go home, drink a little water. Maybe you do, have another snack, something like that, which you shouldn't do, but you do. And then we watched a little bit of TV. And again, I just drank a bunch of wine. And then this morning, I feel great. Versus like when you go out late and you're like, oh, and then you come back the next day and I'm like, oh, I love hanging out with these people, but I'm hungover. Not hungover at all. I feel absolutely great. Absolutely great today. So wonderful. Had my little St. Patrick's Day. Probably will do something. Maybe before we get out of here, we'll have a bourbon or something like that. We'll have an Irish whiskey. Hang on just a second. Yeah. I'll bring out my Battle of the Bay cup. This is my official drinking cup. I don't know. My Battle of the Bay cup is my official drinking cup. And even though we haven't gotten Hanson's as a sponsor yet, I do like the double barrel 100 proof whiskey, which why not? Why not do that on us? Let me just set this aside. We'll do that before we get out of here. We got to do it. Come on. It's going to stare me in the face the entire show, but absolutely, we have to do that. No, did I do corned beef slander or did somebody else do corned beef slander? No, it was good. It was one of those things where, like I said, I probably won't have corned beef until March 17th of 2026. But it was very good. It was very good. But I don't know that I'm going to go into a sandwich shop. And I'm not a big, even though I love sandwiches, really do. Sandwiches, vastly underrated food. And I don't know why they're just a lunch only, but they are. But I probably won't walk into a shop and be like, "Hey, corned beef." Now I've done a combination, like the corned beef pastrami is a really nice deal. I do pastrami ahead of that. If I went into a deli right now and said, "What kind of sandwich?" just on a uh, non St. Patrick's Day, I'd probably go Italian, right? Probably go Italian with some olive oil and the spices and all that kind of stuff. I'd probably do that. A little provolone on there or something. That's what I would probably normally do. Nice little bread. That's what I would probably do. I wouldn't think about a corned beef, but like I said, for last night, and I'm not ripping it at all. It's very tasty. It's like I said, it's kind of like Thanksgiving. I wouldn't do a ton of it, but there you go. Look at you, Marcus. Did you read the piece, by the way? 39 targets was not exactly chopped liver in terms of targets for a fullback. In fact, far away, it was the most. What's funny about it, if you read the piece, there's 6 fullbacks that are used in the league. There's 26 teams that don't use a fullback. And even though there's 8 rated by PFF, Denver and Buffalo have fullbacks that were on the field for less than 200 snaps of over 1,000. So they were on the field about 16, 17% of the time. They're just not used. And what they do is they use move tight ends. Because right now, especially given the financial crunch of the 49ers and the roster crunch that every team faces every Sunday, what you do is you use a backup tight end as either a move tight end or you put him in as a fullback. 26 of the 32 teams do that. So that's what the 49ers were doing. They brought in, the problem is not Juice, I promise, when you look at the piece. The problem is they brought in Luke Farrell as their most expensive outside free agent of the year at 3 years and $20.25 million, which isn't a lot, but they did it. And they brought him in at the age of 27. Remember, they're purging not only money, but age. So Juice is 33. And the only reason they brought him back, and you can read the whole piece at johnlundunleashed.com. The only reason they brought him back is because there was such fan backlash, and they thought to themselves, well, what can we do to stem this a little bit? Oh, you know who's really popular? Juice is really popular. Let's just bring him back. So I'm not ripping the guy, and I really like Kyle Juszczyk. I've not dealt with him. That's a bad word. I've interacted with Kyle Juszczyk a boatload in my 49ers coverage career, and I love the guy. There's the website right there. Let me just show you. This is it right here. Why Juice is really back, and it's not his fault. They don't utilize him, and I write a bunch of stuff about it. He's on the field half the time, 49.7%, 5 runs, 19 receptions, 12 additional targets, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's 3% of the total touches and 3% of the total yards for the 49ers offense in 2024. 3%. So that's what you're paying for. And then the other part of it is his blocking, which in both the pass game, which he only had 48 times where he actually blocked in pass last year. So he's not on the field a lot when they pass. So that's not really relevant. And then when he does run block, you can see right there is at 69.7. Think of a C as 70%. So he's less than average as far as a run blocker is concerned. And then I get really dorky and get into personnel. What at 11, the 21, the 12, and the 22, and he's not on the field a lot there. And then I go down to Luke Farrell, and Luke Farrell's a blocking tight end. He had a career high of 17 targets and 12 receptions last year for 67 yards and no touchdowns. He's been in the league 4 years, never scored a touchdown. He was targeted once in the red zone. He blocked on 289 of his 390 snaps, 75% of the time. He's a blocking tight end. That's what he is. And you can see right there, really good at pass blocker, needs to get better against the run, but I bet he will, and he's 6'5", 250. So they were going to jam him into the hole on those 3rd and short situations, and Kyle Juszczyk was going to be gone, but what happened was everybody freaked out. So you can look at that piece right there. It's pretty, it's in depth as far as, they brought him back because he's popular. They brought him back because he's best friends with George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey. I'm not ripping the guy. It's just, as you can see in the outraged corner woman right there, everyone was outraged. It was like, what can we do? Well, just bringing back Juice is cheap. I mean, it's just cheap marketing is what it is. I like the guy, but they don't utilize him. He was targeted on 13% of his routes last year. He ran 245 pass routes last year and was targeted on 13%. You know that thing we always see of Kyle, that's enough of that, of Kyle Juszczyk, and he's running down the sideline and he's wide open. That's the vision I have of Kyle Juszczyk. I like the guy. I don't want to sit here and rip the guy. But the reality of it is that they signed him for PR purposes only, and then they turned around for some dumb reason and decided that the backup running back, who was leading the league in rushing in the first half of last year, was not valuable enough for what, a 2-year, $7 million contract. And they decided a guy coming off an Achilles, which we're not sure about, but we're hoping is going to be okay. And if not, then it's Isaac Guerrero, who spent most of his college career as a wide receiver and is still figuring out the running back thing. And so then everybody says, well, they'll just take one in the draft. I mean, how many positions can you fill in the draft? You have no interior defensive lineman. You need an edge rusher. You need a partner for Fred Warner in the linebacking core. You really need a free safety. You could use another corner. Oh my God, you need a left guard. You need a center. Now you need a backup running back, and you could use a pass catching tight end because, as I told you, Luke Farrell was supposed to replace Kyle Juszczyk. So I've been as positive as anybody has been in terms of the horrid offseason they've had, and explained to you exactly why they're doing what they're doing, and why also that it's not a huge loss to lose Leonard Floyd, who was outside of 8.5 sacks. The other 600 snaps he had, he was terrible. Or why Talanoa Hufanga, who hasn't been a decent player since 2022, was not a loss. Or why you were never going to get Javarius Ward back because his wife had PTSD and could never step a foot in California. And he told you that in the locker room clean out. And they told you that when they signed Demo Lenore, that they weren't going to bring back Ward. Like, none of these things were surprises. And yet the local media acted like, oh my God, this is insane. Like, we knew all this stuff. Doesn't mean it's easier to swallow. I'm just saying we knew all this stuff. But then the little things are frustrating. Losing Jordan Mason when you don't have to, just because he says to you, look, I don't want to be a backup. I want to be a starter. I'm like, I understand that, but my superstar running back, our superstar running back is coming off an Achilles. I can't trade you, man. Isaac Guerrero is too inexperienced. I can't have that. That can't be my backup running back, because what if McCaffrey isn't ready to go? Or what if McCaffrey can't play enough snaps? Sorry, you're kind of going to be a pseudo starter. We got to have you. Sorry. The tough business decisions that you made during the offseason, the cold and calculated, you can't all of a sudden go warm and fuzzy on me. Like Kyle Juszczyk, you went warm and fuzzy. Jordan Mason, you went warm and fuzzy. Like, no. He wasn't expensive. So you got to keep a Jordan Mason. What do you want to do next year? You want to get back to pounding the football. Well, if Christian McCaffrey can't pound the football because he's still dealing with that Achilles, and look, they know it better than I do, but I don't care. When you're dealing with an Achilles, that's the worst injury in sports right now, the most unpredictable injury in sports right now. And Christian McCaffrey has that. And so I got to have my backup who's established. I just got this guy. Like, I found this guy. He was a free agent. I found him, and he was a north-south zone read runner. I got to have that guy. And I like Guerrero. I saw the run in Seattle. I know what he can do. He had some nice plays this year, but he also had some plays where you went, what in the what? Because he's inexperienced. He he toted the ball his last year at Louisville. That's it. He was at Wisconsin. He was a wide receiver. He's got 4.3 speed. I love the guy. He's big. I like him a lot. But I can't rely on him when I know that Christian McCaffrey's coming off an Achilles, and he's going to be my number 2 guy, and he might get, 150 totes this year. I mean, I want those to go to Mason. Sorry. But everybody's telling me, oh, well, they'll just get one in the draft. Kyle's great at getting him in the draft. Well, as long as he doesn't take one in the 3rd round. Trey Sermon, Joe Williams. Well, Williams a 4th rounder. There was one other 3rd rounder that bombed too. But anyway, it's not. My point is, it's not automatic. And you have all these other positions that you need. And I wrote this, I don't know, a week ago or something at johnlundunleashed.com. I said, well, at least the running back situation's good. Anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to go off on that tangent. But we are at episode 90, Juice by the Numbers. I gave you that. The Juice piece, I showed you that. Mason, I think, is a very big loss. Anything else on the Niner? Oh, Ty Davis Price. Thank you, Happy Gilmore. My God, how could I forget that? TDP, Ty Davis Price. Yeah, not exactly a great track record when it comes to at least 3rd round backs, because Elijah Mitchell, another guy you let walk out the door, and I totally understand why, because he hadn't been good since his rookie year of 963 yards, and then he was hurt all the time. I get it. But you went from a backfield of Christian McCaffrey, who I hope is absolutely great, and maybe this is a sign that he is, and you had Jordan Mason, and you had, at least on paper, Elijah Mitchell, who was always hurt, and you had Guerrero as your 4th guy, and he could learn. And now it's McCaffrey, Guerrero, and you try to find somebody in the draft. So I'm just saying, like, there's only so much you can do in the draft. And you and I talk about this all the time. 1st rounders are 50-50 in the draft. And then it just drops from there. So I have a lot of trust in the 49ers and this regime, where a lot of people don't, because they've done it before. They have grabbed, as we've talked about a million times, Warner in the 3rd round, and Kittle in the 5th round, and Greenlaw in the 5th round, and Brock in the 7th round, and DJ Jones, and and Talanoa Hufanga and Diamonor Lenore. And I mean, look, they've done an amazing job. And last year, the guys that they got, I think, have a lot of upside and potential. Dom Pooney in the 3rd round and Malik Mustafa in the 4th round. And I like what they've done, but they've got to do it really to that level that I just reeled off all those names. They've got to do that like 2 times in a row. Like they got to do it this year and next year. That's what they're counting on. I mean, there is no other game plan as you watch this offseason. Then we're going to purge it. We're going to purge money and age, and we're going to try to stay in this window. And then we're going to just count on our ability to draft, which we've done really well over the years, especially after the 1st round. And that's what we're going to do. That's their one game plan. Like, when you go into something and you want to make sure that you have certain, a number of different ways you can do things. There's one way that this thing is going to end with a positive ending, which is going to be the draft. The next 2 years, the draft is everything to the 49ers. And that they're putting all their eggs in that basket. Like, we can do this again. So we'll see. We'll see. There's our good friend Walter. Make sure that you're checking out his passion for the pastime, and with the Giants coming up, Walter does an amazing job. So if you would please give Passion for the Pastime a follow. And I know them asking like, follow this. But Walter is worth it and does an amazing job with it. Dom, good morning to you, my friend. It is absolutely great to see you. Good morning. That is my stuff this morning for the 49ers. Love to get your thoughts. What do you think of Jordan Mason leaving? What do you think of the return of Kyle Juszczyk? Does that quell you? Does that calm you down for a little bit? Because I think that's the only reason why he is back. They signed Luke Farrell to a fairly decent-sized deal, and yet they bring Juice back, which if you look at what I wrote at johnlundunleashed.com, it's redundant. It is redundant in a year that they're trimming fat. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense other than what I had talked about. Real quick, let me, before I get into, hi, East Coast. Very nice to see you talking some Niners, East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Please give them a follow. See, I'm like, give them a follow. They're really, really good. Kid Icarus, good to see you, my friend. It says, can't pound the ball with Mason either. It kept hurting his shoulder. I don't disagree with you on that. It's just, as I'm going into the season, if we're going into the season and McCaffrey is the guy that he was a year ago, which is essentially what Saquon Barkley was this past year, I have no issues because they never take McCaffrey off the field anyway. And I'll give them this benefit of the doubt. They know physically what's going on with McCaffrey more than I do, but I would say I would counter with this, which is he's getting closer to that big 3-0 for a running back. They signed him to an extension. Don't get me wrong. Christian McCaffrey keeps himself in better shape than just about anybody and works as hard as just about anybody in the league. But injuries happen, especially when you start to get near this age. And the 49ers philosophy and Kyle Shanahan's philosophy and this offense in general's philosophy is one cut and go. You're not dancing. You're not avoiding. You're not stepping out of bounds. You're running at people and running them over. So why do the 49ers need somebody running backs? Same reason why Mike Shanahan's Broncos needed somebody running backs. And you remember all those names? Mike Anderson, Olandis, Gary, all these, like, who are those guys? They all played because guys got hurt, because that's the way they run. That's like Mason gets hurt. McCaffrey doesn't, but that's it. They have gotten running backs injured, and you scratch your head and go, why do the Niners have their running back hurt so much? Because they run over people. That's the design. One cut and up the field. And if someone's in your way, you're gonna be physical. It's a physical style offense. And in that physical style offense, you're running over guys, which means you can get hurt. And that's what happened with Mike Shanahan's Broncos. That's what happens with Kyle Shanahan's 49ers. Running backs get hurt in this offense. Elijah Mitchell did. Like you said, Jordan Mason is one cut and go. That means you need a lot of them. And so now we're going into the season and we're looking at it. We're saying, okay, McCaffrey off an Achilles, Isaac Guerrero off inexperience. And I like I really like him. But if you go back and watch, or if you talk to people within the 49ers, he missed a lot of holes. He missed a lot of things, and he's still learning the intricacies of how you play running back in this zone scheme. It's just he's an inexperienced guy, and so you'll see him, break off a 90-yarder, and then you'll see a few carries where like, bro, like the hole was there, you went here. Like, okay, it's cool, man. You're inexperienced, we get it, but that's your backup to a guy coming off an Achilles now. And what I heard all weekend long was, well, draft. And it's like, dude, like, they need a couple of defensive linemen. They need an edge. They need a guard. They need a center. They need a safety. They need a linebacker now. And they might need a wide receiver. Now they need a running back. So as I wrote a couple of days ago at johnlundunleashed.com, it's like that was the only position where I looked at it and I said, they're in good shape. They got good depth. They're in good shape. And what do the 49ers want to do? They don't want to throw it all over the place. They want to get back to pounding the rock right at you, right in your face. That's what they want to do. And so the 49ers famously always have 2, 3, 4 running backs because it's just like, okay. And I know you want McCaffrey in there and he's going to be in there if he's healthy all the time. I completely get it. And I don't mean to be going this long of a rant about it, but that's a really head-scratching move. And the other ones in the offseason, I know this sounds weird, but I knew about Ward. I knew about Hufanga. I knew about Floyd. Like, I knew all these I knew all those things. I knew who they were trying to get rid of. And I knew why they did it, because for those who are just looking at the surface of this, and that's totally cool, those are great names, as I've mentioned many, many times, but then you delve into the numbers a little bit, and those guys didn't have good years. They didn't. And they were as far as Hufanga was concerned, injury-prone years. So, again, I haven't looked at the breakdown of his contract, but if I'm Denver, it's like, whoa, I better have a good backup strong safety because Hufanga's been hurt a lot. And when he's been on the field other than 2022, just okay, not great. All right, so let's get into all of that. If you got any thoughts or questions or comments on what's going on with the 49ers, or maybe you're just sick of it, like, because I looked it up this morning and I didn't want to put it up on the screen today. Like everyone's putting out there, their first round of grades. Although I will say this, I was reading a piece because Seattle's looking for offensive line help. So I was reading a piece about Seattle this morning. And a dude on the Bears, Tevin Jenkins, he was the 39th overall pick, second rounder, like 3-4 years ago at Oklahoma State. And they originally drafted him to be a tackle. And he had a lot of injury issues. And they moved him into guard. And he has some decent numbers. And that's one of those underrated signings where at the end of the season, you go, how the hell did they get Tevin Jenkins? Like, that was a hell of a signing. So I don't know if they don't like him. I don't know if they'd ever bring him in. But Seattle's bringing him in for a physical today. Seattle's desperate for line help. In fact, there was no one worse in the interior of the offensive line than what Seattle was last year. And so anyway, dude, if you're right and I have a better Achilles than Christian McCaffrey, that is not good. That is not good at all. So we'll see. Like you tripping, man. That's a great one. Lots of 49ers fans think the draft's going to save all our issues. That's a pipe dream. Niners need to get some free agents just for bodies, if anything. Like I said, look, I think they can have a great draft. I think I give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong. They have nailed pick after pick after pick after pick in terms of mid rounds, and they've blown some too. I get that, especially when it comes to running backs. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt to a certain extent. But like you said, you're starting to get to the point where it's like you have 11 picks. I get it, but you'd have to nail 11 picks, and you shouldn't have to be going after running backs. Now, they've grabbed some free agent running backs. I understand that. But for the 49ers to generally get through a season, now maybe McCaffrey's just totally healthy again. I just get the sense that they're going to pull his workload back a little just to say, look, you're coming off this Achilles thing. You're getting to be close to 30. Let's just I get it. You never want to come off the field. And we don't want you to come off the field. But when there's certain situations, we've got to just save you from yourself sometimes. And, you look at like the Warriors, for example, who wouldn't want to play Steph 40 minutes a night? But the Warriors are like, look, we're going to play this guy for a lot. We want him to be here longer, so we're going to pay him less. And I know we all get frustrated by that, but that's just kind of what they do. And for the most part, it looks like he's going pretty good. So anyway, there's that. All right, let me make sure that nobody wants to talk any more things about the Niners. We can always go back to that. But we got a ton to get to as far as the Warriors. And I did put the cover on the show today about the Warriors v. the Nuggets tonight. And there are very few games in an 82-game schedule where you go, oh, all right. But with 15 games left in the season, and I'll show you what the bracket looks like today, this is absolutely one of those kind of times. Hi, Frank P. Good to talk. Good to see you. McCaffrey's the key. If he's not at 95%, they're screwed. Remember, no IE till midseason at best. That's what I'm saying. Like, I look at everything and I say, okay, offensively, I've said this time and time again, offensively, they're going to score points. I don't mind the DeMarcus Robinson signing. There's a lot of ifs on this team, and you know my thoughts on ifs in every single sport. But it's if those three wide receivers. So it's if Ricky Pearsall can step up. I know what Jennings is going to be. I know what Robinson's going to be. George Kittle stays healthy, okay. Need a left guard. Banks is not a big loss, people. He's not. I keep saying this. I think they're going to take a right tackle early. He's going to be the heir apparent to Trent Williams, then that's going to move McKivitz to left guard, where a lot of people think that's his best job, and that might fix your offensive line, at least for the season. And now you got to go, okay, defensive line, edge rusher, the interior of the defensive line, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of critical places. And just to the point before Frank P there, you've got to just get some bodies in. That's why I mentioned a guy like Tevin Jenkins. Like, is that going to make your offseason? Is that going to change anything for you? Is that going to get you all excited? Not really. I mean, he's generally a guard, but he's 27 years old. He's had some decent success in this league. He's had injuries. But at this point of free agency, and I tell you this all the time on free agency, there are no perfect players in free agency on day one. They're either too old, too expensive, and there's a reason why guys make it to free agency, right? They've got a flaw, a lot of times a major flaw. Now, at this point of free agency, which is basically you're drunk, the lights just came on at the bar, and it's 1:59 a.m., and you're going, uh-oh, well, that's what's left here. I mean, there's scraps, and some of these scraps can absolutely be great, but that's where I'm looking at a guy like Jenkins at 27 going, hey, that's if you can get him on a cheap deal, which is all the 49ers are doing this offseason, which is okay. So if you can get him on a cheap deal, 27-year-old guy who has experience as a guard, he's big and can play guard and tackle. I mean, that's the kind of guy that you're looking for at this particular point. And when people say, oh, Juszczyk was cheap. Okay. But every dollar counts. As I wrote in the Juszczyk piece, if you put Luke Farrell, who they signed for 20.25 over 3, let's just call that an average of just about 6, and you look at Juice's deal at 2 and 8, that's $10 million. Okay, together that's $10 million for blocking. Well, Dre Greenlaw, you let out the building for 11. What would you rather have? Now, look, I don't know the medicals on Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw is the only free agent that the 49ers lost where I go, he's either not been replaced or might be irreplaceable, because there's nobody on the roster who can do it. But as we've talked about before, Ward, you got Renardo Green. Juszczyk, you had Luke Farrell. Like, you can go down the line and you can see where with a lot of these, Afunga, you already had Mustafa. Like, a lot of these guys have already been replaced. Greenlaw, there isn't a guy. Don't tell me Curtis Robinson or D Winters or anything. Those guys aren't replacing him. They're not. Now, maybe they just didn't like the medicals, because that's what's starting to look at me is like 3 and it's 11.6 AAV, average annual value. I don't know how it's structured. What I think is, especially because of the injury, it's probably front loaded. There's some money up there, and then they could probably get out of it in the second year. Like, did people see Darnold's contract, by the way, with Seattle? It's being paraded about as a 3-year, $110 million deal. Seattle can get out of it after 1 year and $35 million. So that's what contracts are. I keep seeing Brandon Eves' contract because this morning, Jamar Chase signed for 40, and they showed the top 10 highest paid wide receivers, and they had Ayuk in there at 30 million. And I'm like, it's 3 and 75. He's not going to see the fourth year at $42 million. He's not seeing that number, but whatever. It's fine. Whatever makes the agent feel fine. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, it's our good friend Skeels, and we haven't had an overnight dream in forever. So I'm loving this. Overnight dream, Sean Kemp. Oh, I got a great Sean Kemp story. Sean Kemp and drunk me were buds at a ship party. It's like a cruise ship. Kemp fell to his death trying to meet a woman, and they took him away in a bucket. Wow, that's wild. So first of all, I'm amazed at the fact that you can remember your dreams as much as you can, because I'll have wild dreams only when I drink. Like last night I didn't drink very much, but like I'll have some if I drink too much, if I overindulge, if I'm overserved. But I can't remember. I can never remember my dreams. Like I can remember that a tense one. Like, man, I had an intense dream, but I don't remember what it was about, because you wake up and you're kind of frazzled a little bit. But I never can remember my dream. So really, really quickly, and then we'll get into some Warrior stuff. This is a perfect transition over to it. I think I've told this before, but I'll tell it to people who are new. So I probably shouldn't have done this in retrospect, but I was working in Portland. And if you don't know Portland, it's a depressing place, Portland, Oregon, only because it just rains so much. It's a great city, great restaurants. Pacific Northwest is wonderful. It's on the border of the state of Washington, so you can go over like Washington, buy stuff, no state income tax. Like it's cool. Seattle's not far, so you can go see, the NFL or baseball or whatever. Oregon's a great place. Love Portland, wonderful place, really cool. And but the rain gets to you, and it doesn't hardcore rain every single day. It's like on other days it doesn't hardcore rain. It's kind of a drizzly thing, and it's always gray. Other than like June, July, a little bit of August very sunny and really nice. And so because it rains all the time, it's all green, it's beautiful. But anyway, a lot of rain and it's depressing. So with that in mind, I didn't just say that, you probably already knew all that stuff, but with that in mind, it's got the highest strip club per capita in the nation because things are just inside. My son, we were there for 1 year. We just couldn't do it. We were there for 10 months before we actually came here. And they have everything like these overhangs. They have indoor, all sorts of stuff because it just rains all the time. So anyway, they have the highest strip club per capita in the strip clubs per capita in the country. I mean, you can't, it's like McDonald's or something, or they're like Starbucks. I mean, they're just, there's one there, there's one there, all over the place. So there was one in particular that the Blazers players like to frequent. And the reason you knew that they were there on a specific night was because there was like a VIP parking area. And I knew what a lot of the guys, I was a beat guy for the Blazers. So I knew what a lot of their cars looked like, and they had the customized plates and everything like that. So it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like I'd go in there and I'd say, hey, here, I'd come back the next day. I did a talk show every day there. And it's not like I would come back and say, these were the guys that were in the club. I didn't care. And so, but one night, Sean Kemp had gotten in a lot of trouble. And of course, great with the Sonics. They went to the Cavaliers, and then the league had a lockout. And Sean Kemp went from felt Sean Kemp, dunking and doing all the things he did to probably 270, 280 pounds. Well, the Blazers traded Brian Grant, former King, traded Brian Grant to I think it might have been a three-way trade. He didn't go to Cleveland. But anyway, yeah, it was a three-way deal. And somehow, I can't remember where Brian Grant ended up. But anyway, Sean Kemp ended up with the Blazers. And they were kind of a mess anyway at that particular point. And they're trying to they were at the end of they had Scottie Pippen and Steve Smith and all these different guys. They're trying to add Kemp to this whole thing, which is wild. And he came in he was just ridiculously out of shape because of the lockout. So anyway, he got in trouble with the league, drinking and all sorts of different things, and he wasn't supposed to be in bars. And so I'm doing a regular talk show. I go into this strip club, which is very infrequent, but I go to this one that a lot of the players went to, and you could see Sean Kemp's making it rain in the corner. And I don't know if he was drinking, I couldn't tell. But the next day I came in and I just went, yeah, Sean Kemp's not supposed to be in bars, and there he was making it rain. So then I came in probably a couple of days later, and he'd never put his hands on me or anything like that. But it was one of those things where, if somebody's really screaming and yelling at you, I don't know, it's just me. You're not all that upset about it because like this freak is just like, whatever. He was doing the low voice thing. Like he didn't want anybody to hear. Like, man, I don't remember the exact verbiage that he used, but suffice to say that when there's a 6'10", 270, 280 pound man in front of your face, giving the low, like basically, I'm going to kick your ass. This. It's relatively scary experience. And me, I'm like 5'9", maybe about $175 on a good day. So he's 6'10", 270 and doing low voice guy. Like, I will rip your face off, that kind of a thing. And you're like, it's like a horror movie. I got to go. And so, I got the message. And it was one of those things where, you learn a life lesson where you go, you know what? I don't care what Sean Kemp is doing. Like, I know I have a talk show. I know he's not supposed to be in strip clubs. I know he's not supposed to be boozing or whatever. And I don't know that he was boozing. Like I said, he was in one of those back rooms, and all I could see was money flying around. And I'm thinking, I need to go back there and get some of that money. But but anyway, and there was probably 2 or 3 girls or whatever. And I was like, there's Sean Kemp back there. Kind of interesting. So I shouldn't, live and learn, right? Because it was like, yeah, I probably don't want to bring up Sean Kemp. Because like I said, he was waiting for me. And I'd kind of thought, I brought it up and then I kind of forgot about it. Like, whatever. Sean Kemp's not going to hear about it on my little show. And all of a sudden, man, I walk in there and he beelined. I mean, I was like, uh-oh, here comes this big giant person. I'm like, oh, this is not good. Because then it clicked in my head right away. Like, ooh, that's right. I mentioned that dude was in a strip club making it rain and he's not supposed to be in such places. The NBA banned him. The NBA said you cannot be in places where alcohol is served. Like you can't do it. Like not talking about a restaurant, but like you can't be in a bar. Like they don't serve, what do they serve in a strip club? Like deviled eggs and, pretzels or something. I mean, it's not like there was food there from what I remember. They had like some bar food or something, but it certainly wasn't anything that was cooked or fried or, there's no burgers in there. Anyway, there's my Sean Kemp story that you brought on. Very nice. I love when I get dream stories from Skills. That's a random part of the program right now. Yeah, that was in Portland. Michael Ray Richardson. Wow, I didn't think we'd bring up a Michael Ray Richardson thing. Yeah, just up. Yeah, I was north of Salem, but Salem had the same thing. I mean, you go into any of those cities in Portland. I mean, you get off like the freeway in Salem right there, Daryl, And it's like, because I went down to I covered the University of Oregon football for a long, long time. They went to the national title game, all that kind of stuff. And so I would go down to Eugene, and you'd go down to Oregon State, Corvallis. So Salem was on the way there, and it wasn't like I didn't stop there once in a while. We had friends. We're like, oh yeah, let's stop here. It's unbelievable. Like, you just go right off. You get off the freeway, and there's like 10 of them. It's like, what kind of Starbucks do you want? Unbelievable. All right. I think Brian Grant was on the Kings. Then he was on the Blazers, and the Blazers traded him as Miami. That's what it was. It was Miami. He went in a 3-way deal to where Brian Grant went to Miami, got a big contract, and Sean Kemp in a 3-way deal came from Cleveland. And it was after a lockout, and Kemp was in horrendous shape. I just remember going to the press conference, and it looked like somebody had, and again, I shouldn't do this, but it looked like somebody had just put a pump in his mouth and went, because he had gained 25, 30 pounds. He didn't so much run me out of town. I was there probably longer than he was, but yeah, it was not a pleasant experience. And I'm not, it was that era right there. It was that era of Blazers, and that team going into the locker room was like, are you kidding me? I mean, it was ridiculous. There you go. That's right there. I was at that game. Where is it? Right here. Right here, John Holmes. No, come on, man. This thing is moving so fast. Michael Dyer, I was right on the field during that game. 2010, Auburn, Oregon. And I was working for the Ducks, and I went down on the field the only year I was there. And there was a couple of minutes left in the game. And the kicker for Auburn, I can't remember the damn kid's name, they tied the game up or whatever, and then going to overtime, and Michael Dyer, his elbow was down. I mean, it was like he showed the thing a million times. You know what's funny about it was? That game was in Phoenix, and I've told you the story about Scam Newton and all that kind of stuff before, but there was a media party afterwards because everything gets done so late, and ESPN threw this big media party afterwards. And I remember having a couple of cocktails, and I'm not trying to throw names around, I promise you, but as part of my career, I turned down, this is way before Kirk Herbstreit got incredibly popular, but I got offered a job in Columbus, Ohio to work with Kirk Herbstreit. And this is before he got absolutely huge, but Herbstreit, I remember, called me and he goes, love to have you in Columbus, this and that. And I'm living on the West Coast. I'm not really an East kind of a guy. And did a little bit of research into it. And all they talk about 24/7, 365 in Columbus, Ohio, as you can imagine, is Ohio State football. So it was Ohio State football, then it was Ohio State recruiting. And so, I did I listened to a few shows, and I'm like, if I really want to do Ohio State football 24/7, 365, like, I'd just be bored out of my mind after a while. And so I turned down the gig, whatever. But I had, I fostered a little bit of a relationship with Kirk back in the day. And so after that game, I remember seeing him at the ESPN party going, bro, that guy was down. Like, he was down, right? And he was like, yeah, he was down. But, other than that. But anyway, there you go. I name dropped, and you can go ahead. Let's see. All right. There was a random part of the program. If you're still with us, that would be absolutely great. We've done in episode 90, Juice by the Numbers, Juice piece at johnlundunleashed.com. Love Juice, but they don't utilize him enough to justify bringing him back, especially after the Luke Farrell signing at 3 years and $20.25 million. You can check that out. I think that they just threw a bone to the fans and the sponsors to say, look who we brought back. Don't look over here. Look over here. So we'll see if that indeed is the case. All right, let's see if we got any reaction of that, and then we'll go to a little bit of Warriors, because we are 43 minutes into the show, and I don't know that I'm probably burying the lead here, because this is what I started. I said this was going to be the big thing, Mile High matchup, and that is the cover of today's show right there, Mile High matchup, and you can see right there, if the playoffs started today, which they do not, that would be your 3-6 matchup, 43-25 Nugs versus the 39-28 Golden State Warriors, who beat by the way, you like that 4-leaf clover in the corner there? Nice little touch. So that's what's going on. And let me just throw the bracket up there, the wrong kind of bracket. And I promise you I'll throw up the NCAA bracket in just a second. But, or excuse me, that is the NCAA bracket. Where's my NBA bracket? Oh, sorry. I'm confused over brackets today. There we go. I'm like, I'll pop it up at some point. There's your playoff picture right there in the National Basketball Association. And I'm going to throw up the standings in a second just because it's amazing what's going on here. But anyway, the Creamy Nougats taking on the Warriors if the playoffs started today. 15 games to go. So if you didn't think we're down the stretch, we are now. They're 43-25. The Warriors are 39-28. So a relatively big game. And then, as I said before, I don't, I'd rather be where the Lakers are right now, where you can see the top of that bracket a little bit, where Lakers in the 5-4 would take on the Grizz, inexperienced team. Then you'd take on the Thunder, inexperienced team, even though they're really, really good. In this bracket, you take on the Nuggets 3-6. Rockets would be great. I think they can beat the Rockets in a series, no question. I think they can beat the Grizzlies, no question. And I would rather play the Thunder than the Nuggets, but that's just the way things go. So that's what the bracket looks like right now. So important game tonight as we come down the stretch. And there's just over 82 games. There's just not that very many games where you can go, ooh. And there's 2 of those, actually, as we look at the Warriors schedule. So that's what the bracket looks like. And the Nuggets and the Warriors play tonight. And by the way, I can just tell you this because I know this is going to get thrown around tonight, I'm sure. And I was going to call it lazy, but it's not lazy. It's just the way things are. Is that what's going to happen is they're going to go, can you send messages? There's no such thing. Like there's 2 games left tonight and there's another one against the Nuggets before the end of the season. And if the Warriors win both of those games, there's no message being sent. The Nuggets can't beat the Warriors. Or if the Nuggets beat the Warriors twice, there's no message being sent. It's not like the Warriors couldn't walk into Denver and win. Oh no, they lost the previous 2 games. So clearly they can't beat them. Look, I don't love the matchup anyway against Denver. And the reason I don't is because it's like every team in the league, and this will be talked about a lot tonight too, is, well, how do you match up with Jokic? Well, it's not just a Warriors issue. This is an NBA issue. And they can throw Looney at him, and there's different guys that can throw at Jokic, but the reality of it is he's just too skilled, and he's going to come out of tonight with 30 points and 15 boards and 10 assists, and then it comes down to what do the other guys do around him, because he makes all these guys around him better. But to me, the Nuggets come down to which Jamal Murray you getting, because in the playoffs over the last few years, Jamal Murray has been great in the playoffs. During the season, he's kind of up and down. He can have an injury here or there, get nicked up. But if he's ready and healthy for the playoffs, the Nuggets are really tough to beat. And that's what it comes down to, is what are the other guys doing? Because I know that tonight you can just stamp it. 30, 15, and 10 in some way, shape, or form. It's going to be that for Jokic. That's about what he's going to do. And there's nothing you can do about it. I don't care who you throw on him. Throw Draymond on him, throw Looney on him, throw, TJD on him, doesn't matter to me. Just whoever, he's going to get what he's going to get. He's just that skilled. So nobody matches up with him well. Like everybody looks at Denver and says, nobody matches up with him well. He's just that good. I'm not going to call him the best center of all time, but I will say he's the most skilled center since I've been alive. And, you can throw Wilt Chamberlain in, you can throw whatever center you want to talk about. And we've seen a lot of skilled centers in our league. Hakeem Olajuwon was incredibly skilled. He had tremendous footwork because he played soccer growing up. The guy was unreal. Like there's a lot of different guys. I've mentioned Sabonis lots of times because I covered the guy, but it was later in his career. That's the only passer I've seen that's even close. He's amazing. So he's going to get his 13, he's going to get his 30, 15, and 10 tonight. It's going to be the way it is. What's Jamal Murray doing? What are other guys around him doing? And there are no messages being sent. It's just a kind of a narrative that people come up with, but it's just not true. There is no correlation between a team during the regular season. Like we did great against them in the regular season. Yeah, there might be some matchup issues there, but good teams make adjustments, all those kind of things. So I showed you the bracket, but here's what's amazing about the standings. And I've told you this, I've fallen into this trap myself. Oh, that's the schedule. Let me do something else. I'm just having a banner day. Okay, here's what's amazing, right? You look at the Warriors and the way they've done things, and they're absolutely rolling. They're 7 in a row. But then look at Houston, who was kind of fading there for a minute. Now they've won 6 in a row. But what's amazing here is there are 15 games remaining. So if you look at the last 10, where the Warriors are 9-1, they've got 3 games over the last 10 on the Lakers. They have 4 games over Memphis, who's 5-5. So they've gained 4, is what I'm saying. The Nuggets 5-5. They've gained 4 on the Nuggets. Even the Rockets, as good as they've been, 7-3. So they gained 2 on them. Nobody's going to catch Oklahoma City, but the Warriors could be as high as 2, which is amazing. I never would have thought that. So at 28 losses, they're just 3 behind the Rockets. There's only 15 to play, so it's going to be really hard. Like for them to realistically jump 4 teams to get up to the 2, probably not going to happen. But still, all 4 of those teams are at 25 losses. So the Warriors could get into that mix if they just keep on rocking and rolling the way that they're doing. Because if you think about tonight, they win tonight. Nuggets all of a sudden at 26, Warriors stay at 28, and they have one more game against the Nuggets. So they could catch them. Same with the Rockets, who have gotten cold at times. So they could be up there. They could be up there in the 2 hole at the highest. But as I keep saying this, I forget to look behind. You look in the rearview mirror, all of a sudden, almost right next to you are the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they keep winning. And I thought they were done, and they're 8 in a row. They've won 8 in a row, which is absolutely amazing. And all of a sudden, they're just one behind you. And then the Clippers won again last night, and they've won 6 of 7. So as much as I'm looking at the Warriors and going, hey, they could be as high as 2. Yeah, they could also be as low as 8. As I'm looking at that whole thing where I'm going, geez, because again, they've won 6 of 7, have the Clippers. The T-Wolves, like I said, have won 8 in a row. So the two teams behind you are red hot. So it's crazy right now. So you could be as high as 2. You could be as low as 8. Or I guess high as 2, low as 8. And we are 15 games away. We have no idea. We only know this. In the Western Conference, Oklahoma City is going to be the one. But then the next 4 teams have 25 losses. And the Warriors are in it the way they're playing with 28, even with 15 remaining, because like I said, they could gain 3. They just gained 3 in the last 10 over the Lakers, gained 4 on Memphis in the last 10, gained 4 on Denver in the last 10. So my God, man, just craziness as far as that goes. And then you look at the schedule, and they already beat New York over the weekend. But here's where it really comes in is Denver tonight's massive if you want to get up higher. Milwaukee's going to be a tough game, Milwaukee. Toronto, you got to win that game, and then you hit the road. And you never know on the road. At Atlanta, at Miami, that's going to be an interesting one. That's must watch as Jimmy returns to Miami. They're going to boo the hell out of him, probably. Although in South Beach, it's like, whatever. Then you've got New Orleans, who's terrible. You got San Antonio, who's given up for the year. At Memphis is a huge game. Again, if you want to catch some of these teams, I just mentioned the teams you got to catch. Well, there's Denver right there, 25 losses. There's Memphis right there, 25 losses on the 1st of April. Hate April Fools, by the way. I have a great April Fool's story, though, and it's kind of sad. But then you got the Lakers, so that's another team. Then Denver, a team you could catch. Houston, a team you could catch. So if you look at over the last 15 games, you're talking Denver twice, Lakers, a team you want to catch, and Memphis on the road, though. So there's a lot of tough games for the Warriors remaining, and they've almost got to be perfect to get as high as 2, and they have to watch out behind them because we're assuming they're not going to play in the play-in game, and all of a sudden, you know what? Minnesota's right there. Minnesota's right behind you 1 game, and the Clippers only 2 games in the loss behind that, and they've won 6 of the last 7. So this is getting crazy. Crazy. Let me just pop that up one more time. So you're like, we're clear out of the play-in. No, you're not. The team behind you's won 8 in a row, and the team behind them have won 6 of 7. So this thing is like as exciting as I think a lot of Warriors fans are, and they should be. Jimmy's fit like a glove. Kuminga's played 2 games in which he has accepted a role, it looks like, and has contributed. Like things look good. Things look good for this team. They couldn't be better since Jimmy Butler came aboard. But because these teams behind you, the Timberwolves and Clippers, are playing better, all of a sudden you're going, damn, I got to keep the pedal to the metal. Like it's not like I'm the 6 as bad as or as worse as we could be as the 6. You could be in the play-in playing down to the 8 going, what the hell just happened here? I thought we were red hot. Crazy how it's turning out. So anyway, that's that as far as that bracket is concerned. We will do the other bracket in just a second. Let me hit some things because we are on Find Your Own Dre, Told You on Moody, and then we'll get into Giants, Tourney Time, more random stuff. What was I saying that I had a story on? I can't remember what I just said. I said I had a story on that. Oh, April Fools. I guess should I wait till April Fools to play that thing? Yeah, Phoenix is in shambles. I don't know what Phoenix is going to do. I don't know what Kevin Durant was thinking. Maybe he's thinking like, you know what? I'm not going to take the trade to Golden State or anywhere else. What I'll do is in the offseason, I'll evaluate to see who can win. And that's the whole thing is everybody's, you're going to be a martyr wherever you go. You might as well have just gone back to the Warriors if you're Kevin Durant, to be honest. And I'm glad they have Jimmy Butler. Don't get me wrong. But they'd even be that much better with Kevin Durant. But Durant is going to go to another team. And what are people going to say about him? And he does care about this. Teams are, well, you just jump into a championship team. Because it's not like Kevin Durant's going to go to a team that's crummy. I mean, I'm trying to think. He's not going back to Brooklyn or something like that. He's going to try to play with a championship team. It's going to be like, well, he just did it again. And they're going to accuse him of the same things. So, let's see. I hope Jokic doesn't play. I don't think the Warriors can afford to miss a game. Hopefully I mean, look, that's what's crazy is you just keep thinking about it and you think, God, they're playing so good. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute. Minnesota's like right behind him. Healthy Bill Walton's a great call. Yeah, healthy Bill Walton's a great call. And I mean, if you go back and watch replays of the Sixers and Blazers in the 77 NBA Finals. And Bo Walton is just a god in that series. I mean, just ridiculous. Because you look at the rest of the guys on that team, they had Maurice Lucas, Bill Walton, and I mean, that's it. I mean, I know they had other guys. I'm not disrespecting them, but has anybody heard of Bobby Gross or Dave Twardzik or Corky Calhoun or Lionel Hollins? Or, I mean, like Bill Walton was basically get on my back and I will just carry you to a championship against the team in the 76ers that had Dr. J and George McGinnis and Bobby Jones and Daryl Dawkins. And I mean, my God, it was just absolutely ridiculous. Got a great Daryl Dawkins story too. Let's see here. Dr. Jack was the head coach. Exactly. He was a god in that town. I got to tell you, just god in that town. Yeah, we will get to some tourney stuff because I got to be honest with you. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some sort of a, hey, good to see you, man. Very nice. Buenos dias, Senor Lund. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some sort of a NCAA expert, although I have, like I said, here's what I do every single year. And I suck at filling out brackets. Do not, no matter what I say later, I don't care during this week if I say I've studied it up and this is what I think. Do not follow my bracket advice. Do not follow my bracket advice. I think in the time that I've filled out a bracket, probably, I don't know, 25 years, I don't know that I've ever won a bracket. And every single year I have a bracket with my friends. So my oldest friends, and we'll each throw in like $100, so it ends up being a pretty decent amount of money. Never won that one, and I've been doing that forever, as long as I can remember. I'll do like the NCAA. I'll do like the ESPN one. I'll do like there's tons. Yeah, former Warriors GM Dave Twardzik, exactly. But anyway, I'm not good. I'm not good. So no matter what, because I will do research and I will come on here. I can guarantee you that maybe Tuesday I don't even count. By the way, those playing games I don't even count those. So like Wednesday I might come in here because I'm going to do a bunch of reading on it, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to go, oh, I think I got this, and you're going to go, shut up. Just no matter what I say, do not take my advice. I'm terrible. I don't think I've ever won one. I don't think I've ever won a bracket against anybody in any way, shape, or form. No. In fact, you know what we should do? I think it's easy. I think you have to be an ESPN insider, though, and I don't really want everybody to have to be that. But I think I can make a tournament if we want to do one. I think we can do one. I think you can do that on ESPN, can't you? Where you just have your own deal. But then I think people have to sign up at ESPN.com or something like that, and then you don't want to do that. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong on that. But I think if I do one on ESPN, maybe I'll try to find one that you don't have to do that. I know Yahoo does one, and so I'm not sure. Yeah, good call right there, SD. Yeah, of course. People know Dave Twardzik is. But I was just, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and of course, you've heard of, some of these guys. But I'm just simply saying that might have been, outside of Walton, the worst roster to ever win a championship. Did Cleveland? I guess Cleveland did. LeBron. Yeah, that wasn't very good either. The Washington Bullets, who are now the Wiz, they won one in 78. That wasn't the greatest. The Sonics in 79. Jack Sikma, Gus Williams, former Warrior. John Johnson, Lonnie Shelton, like those guys won one. That wasn't the greatest team ever. But Bill Walton, kind of like LeBron, I guess, but, he needed a little help. We're not going to talk about that. Yeah, that's a great point. Is it really worth doing any research? I don't know. I guess I just make myself feel better when I do the bracket. We might as well just pull that up right now. We might as well skip Dre, Moody, and Giants rotation just for a second, since we just kind of stumbled into the discussion of the bracket. So let me see here. There's your bracket. My God, that's just so small. I mean, what's with that print? I can't. Let me see if I can do better. Sorry about that. That's ridiculous. Let me see if I can share my screen, and because I think I have another one. Do I not have one? I thought I had a bracket sitting here. God, I have like 50 things up right now. Oh, that's the women's tournament. I had the wrong tournament up. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, I know. It's giving me this thing. You canceled screen sharing. I was like, I know. So there, yeah, that's not very good. Sorry, that's a terrible bracket. But anyway, there's the bracket itself. I'll do some research. If people want to, just for fun around here and for bragging rights, want to play in a tournament, because I don't know if I can legally, we can throw money around. I think they'll probably say to that kind of a thing, even though we can pretty much do what we want around here, I guess. But there's the bracket right there. I had to do a little research into it. I loved watching yesterday because they always talk about the first 4 out and everyone's complaining about like Indiana and North Carolina's in, and it's like, whatever. Like, just, those teams, they're not going to do anything anyway. So anyway, let me know if you want to do a bracket, though. I'd like to do a bracket. That'd be pretty nice. As far as Draymond Green is concerned, I didn't like seeing him do this. Maybe I'm just being stupid, and it's very possible. But there's Moses Moody going, Draymond does the nightmare. I just want, that's Steph's bit. And the only reason I say that I don't want Draymond doing it is because here's what's going to happen. Mark my words. Every guy around the league is going to start doing that. And then it's not going to be fresh anymore. And then Steph Curry's going to have to stop doing it. And I think it's cool. Like, Steph hits a 3 late in the game, and it's like, night. Like, cool. It's a great bit. The bit he did at the Olympics. It's like, that's his bit. And so you can't do, like, somebody came up with a great bit. It's like, not everybody does the bit. Like when Justin Jefferson, was it Jefferson who started doing the gritty? And that was really cool. And then Mac Jones did the gritty, and you're like, okay, that's done. Like, that's over. Like, that's what's going to happen. It's like James Harden's going to hit a 3 or something and win a game for the Clippers against, I don't know, Indiana on a Thursday. It's not going to matter at all. And then all of a sudden he's going to do night. And it's like, okay, it's stopped. Okay. And then now Steph's got to stop doing night. So Draymond Green is like perpetuating it. And it's like, you didn't come up with a bit. Like, come up with your own thing. And even if Moses Moody wants to call it the nightmare, it's not. It's the night. And now everybody's going to do the night all over the place, and it's going to lose its value, and everything's, and it's like, well, Steph can't do it anymore because now it's just jumped the shark. And so Draymond's got to come up with his own thing to me. It's like, nah. And then speaking of Moody, I was just looking up his stuff. I don't know why it took so long. I have no idea. And I'm not saying Moody's Jimmy Butler. I'm not saying that Moody's Steph Curry. I'm not saying Moody is, this critical part, but we talk about this all the time, and I talk about it because what happens is GMs, for some reason, especially in basketball, they think that chemistry doesn't matter. They think that certain guys assuming certain roles don't matter. They just want to put 5 all-stars on the court, and they think that that's going to win them championships. And look, the Warriors were an extremely talented team. They were just so much more talented than anybody else when they had Durant. So I'm not saying it doesn't work to an extent, but for most teams, as great as superstars as you have on the court, you need to have a couple of guys who are going to do certain things. And so as I've watched Moses Moody, and they drafted the same year, obviously, as Kuminga at 7 and Moody at 14. And again, I'm not saying that Moody's better than Kuminga potentially, but what I am saying is he fits. And every time he went on the court in those sporadic minutes that he would get up until the last couple of months, and he was getting sporadic minutes again earlier this year. And as much as they are, 13-1 with Jimmy Butler and like 15-1, 16-1, whatever it is with Moses Moody starting, it might be a coincidence to a certain point. But if you watch Moody's game, and he's always been this way since the minute he arrived from Arkansas at 19, it's just a mature, smart game. He gets his hands on balls. If he's open for a 3, he's pretty money, especially from the corners. I'm not saying he's the greatest. He defends well. There's nothing he doesn't do well. He doesn't play erratically. He doesn't play out of control. And so I always scratched my head when the Warriors couldn't find time for him because Steve Kerr, like me, we talk about this all the time, and like you as a fan, I just want to know what I'm going to get. I don't want wild fluctuations. And sometimes with Kuminga, I get a wild fluctuation. I get a 3 for 17 and he's out of control. And then another night I'll get a 7 for 10. He's really smart and, he does everything right and he plays within himself and does all the right things. And it's like, oh my God, that's Kuminga. He can become a superstar. And then other nights you're like, what is he thinking? With Moses Moody, it's just, it's just cruising on down the road. Like he just does what he's supposed to do. No many nights, no egregious turnovers, no stupid plays, no missed defensive assignments. He's just steady. He does what he's supposed to do, and it belies his years, which is why the Warriors gave him a contract, which wasn't outrageous at all. I mean, it was 3 and 39, something like that. But I just, you know what you're going to get. He's a reliable guy. He's a smart guy. He fits in. He knows how to fit in. And for the most part in his Warriors career, that's what he's done. And so it's nice to see him getting the minutes. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs because what happens in the playoffs a lot of times is, as we talk about, it's matchup related. So maybe he doesn't fit a certain matchup. Maybe they fall behind in a series and they think they need a spark and maybe Kuminga starts or somebody else starts or whatever the case may be. When everybody's healthy, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do this thing. Podziemski is close. And it just seems like one guy is out, one guy is in, one guy is out, one guy is in. So hopefully in these next 15 games, they've got Kuminga back now. Jimmy Butler is obviously established. Everybody's feeling good, bumps and bruises. I'm sure guys down the stretch, older guys like Steph and Draymond will take a game off here, game off there. Although as close as Minnesota is behind you and as much as you can gain, I think, by moving up to the 2 spot to potentially play a team that's coming out of a play in. That's why 2 is so important, because if they can somehow, and I know there's 4 teams ahead of them with 25 losses and you're at 28, so it's probably not going to happen. But if you could get as high as the 2, now you're playing a team off a play-in, and some people say that they're kind of playoff experience. I don't know. I'd rather do that. But if they could get as high as that, plus what that does is it avoids Oklahoma City as long as you possibly can avoid them. So we'll see. I mean, the draw is the draw. Right now, they've got Denver, as I said, in the first round, which makes tonight's game pretty important, because not only that, you can move up, and you can't afford the losses with Minnesota behind you as much as they are. And I should look at Minnesota's schedule, but a lot of times it doesn't matter. Like you think, oh, win, loss, and it gets blown out the window. Happens to me all the time. So, but anyway, I wanted to bring up Told John Moody just because forever I've just sat there and gone, why doesn't he play? Like the biggest question would be, like, I get it. If a guy's erratic, if a guy makes mistakes, if a guy's turnover prone, if a guy does stupid things, that's never been the thing. And Steve Kerr constantly preaches, playing the right way. And that's what he does. And so I'm like, this guy is always playing the right way. There's got to be a place for him in this rotation. And look, it's a deep rotation now. You add Jimmy Butler and Podziemski gets healthy and everything. And I'm not asking for the guy to play 40, but over the last 6 weeks, he's playing 30. And with this team on this roster, it's like, that's pretty impressive. And now if you're the head coach, if you're Steve Kerr, it's like, well, I can't take him out now, because then head coaches become superstitious. Like, whoa, we're rolling with this lineup. This is what we're staying with. Now we'll see. Like I said, we'll see in the playoffs what exactly they do. But for now, I just think it's cool that the guy has done what he's done. He's finally proven he's always on the court, not making mistakes. I'm not saying he's hitting every shot, doing everything right, but rarely do I think to myself during a game when Moses Moody is on the floor, that's a massively egregious error. Like, I just don't see that. You just don't see it from him. So anyway, very cool. Give me your thoughts on the Warriors. I want to move to the Giants in a minute, just because we're coming to the end, or close to the end. Let me hit up the comment line real quick. We're coming close to the end of spring training, and something's becoming very, very obvious as far as the rotation is concerned, which is massive. And, oh, by the way, the Cubs and the Dodgers are already in Japan. Like, this thing is upon us. I was watching some of the A's and Giants game, and I got to get Dwayne on, man. Dwayne Kuiper is so great. And I was watching the game yesterday between the Giants and the A's. And I mean, just the calls are, I mean, they're so good. But also Dwayne goes, and we're less than 3 weeks from opening day. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, my God. And then, of course, you got Cubs and Dodgers, which I think that's the weirdest thing, by the way. So let me get this straight. And I get why they're doing it. It's marketing. I understand. But in Japan, baseball is everything. And Major League Baseball is huge. So I don't know how much more they're growing it. Obviously, they have the numbers and I don't. But I understand why they're doing it, because the Cubs have 2 very high-profile Japanese players. The Dodgers now have, 3 very high-profile Japanese players. So this thing's going to pack out. I get it. I understand it. But they're going to go to Japan, fly all that way. They're going to play a couple of games that count. And then they're actually going to come back to spring training and play games that don't count. And then the season starts. Like, what in the what? So hopefully from a standpoint of the Giants, maybe that gets the Dodgers off to a slow start. I have no idea. But it's just weird. The whole thing is weird. I get why they're doing it. I understand worldwide marketing. I understand why the NFL goes to Europe. I've actually covered games over there in Europe for the NFL, and it's the weirdest experience I could ever give you. We'll get into that some other day. But anyway, it's weird that they're going over there. But my point is this, and this guy Jeff does a really good job, and I know he has a website, or does a show or a podcast or something like that. But I always like to give him credit because he does a really good job of rounding up every single day. And I did watch the game. But, Adames, Flores, good to see Flores swinging the bat. Encarnacion continues. I saw Stassi's home run and double. He looks like he's swinging the bat. Maybe he's going to do the backup catcher. But it's always, to me, Trevino was a really good A at one point. But Birdsong goes 5 and strikes out 8. And I shouldn't be overwhelmed by that, but it's just watching his stuff. He has elite stuff. Like, I don't know if people think, I don't know within the organization what people think. I haven't looked at a prospect top 10, top 20, top 30 list for the Giants. I have no idea where he is versus Harrison or versus Kyle Harrison. But to me, Birdsong's got to be in the rotation. Like, are you kidding? Guy's humping up there at like 98 miles an hour, which again, that's something that if that 98's getting hit, because it can get hit, then it really doesn't matter. But if you just watch what he's doing, and this is where I think the numbers actually back up what he's doing. So sometimes the numbers don't tell the story. But as far as Birdsong is concerned, and I keep bringing this up, we had him on the patio last year I think it was after his first or second start, and he came out, and it was so impressive to talk to the kid, and it was actually more impressive to talk to him off the air because my folks are from Chicago. My parents are from Chicago. And so I asked him because I know he was from that part of the country. If he was a Cubs fan, a Cardinals fan, a White Sox fan, it's kind of he's in this corner of the state of Illinois that I think, or maybe Missouri, that was kind of a combination of all. And he said he was a Cubs fan and just talked about all the different ways he grew up and how he became who he was, and just a really impressive young guy. Because what happens is we bring these guys out on the patio, and a lot of times it's a young player because a lot of the veteran guys don't want to come out. Sometimes they will. Logan Webb will come out a lot if he's not pitching. Relievers will come out if they're, if maybe it's not their day or they're not going to pitch till the 7th, 8th, 9th. We used to get guys all the time there. But back in the day, I mean, Crawford would come out once in a while. Belt would come out a lot. He liked us. But you normally get young guys. And it's very hit and miss with young guys. Sometimes they're extremely shy and they're looking down at the ground and you're trying to pull answers out of these guys, and it can be challenging at times. But Birdsong, while he wasn't overly, he wasn't like hyped or jumpy or anything like that. He was just very matter of fact, would look you straight in the eyes. And maybe that means nothing whatsoever, but he had a maturity about him. I remember in talking to him, and I don't remember anything specific that came out of his mouth, but he knew pitching and he knew what he was supposed to be doing. I remember that. And he understood, setting up hitters. And it was just a very, I wouldn't call it an intricate conversation because it wasn't, but it was just more like this guy. You could just tell he was confident. He knew what he was talking about. He was smart. He was comfortable, and you could just tell he was comfortable, and he's a really young guy. And I'm like, this guy. And Kyle, by the way, Kyle Harrison is too. But as I start looking at this thing, all right, Robbie Ray's had a really nice spring. That was one of the ifs. Okay, I'll just, for the sake of conversation, okay, Robbie Ray, good. Justin Verlander's throwing it up there. I mean, he's a freak. He's throwing it up there like 97. He's throwing sliders in the dirt. He looks great. Okay, he's in there. Webb, we don't even have to talk about. So there's 3. Those guys are absolutely in the rotation. Then after that, I know a lot of people like Hicks. Okay, he was great. 5 and fly last year. I've said this a million times. He's a 7th inning guy. He's not better than Birdsong. Birdsong's in the rotation. That's 4. So where are you going? You going Harrison? You going Hicks? Landon Roop has had a great spring. I just don't think they're going to put Roop in that position. I think Roop is going to be a long guy. He can be nasty. He's had this is the 2nd consecutive spring where it's like people are, Landon Roop. I'm not putting him in the rotation, although I would put him ahead of Hicks. But I put the 3 guys that are automatically in. Birdsong has got to be in. So then who's your 5th guy? And a lot of times early in the season, you don't even need a 5th guy. But like Kyle Harrison, he's okay. And by the way, was it yesterday or the day before? He had trouble velocity-wise early in spring. He was throwing at like 90, 91, and people are like, uh-oh. Was it yesterday or the day before? He was going like routinely 94, 95. So he looks like he's picked it up a little bit. And I know they like Harrison. I haven't heard like they're not going to have Kyle Harrison in this rotation, and he's not a bullpen guy. So it's going to be Birdsong and Harrison at the end of the rotation, and then Hicks goes as your 7th inning guy. Landon Roop is your long guy. That's the way I would look at it right now, and that's great for the Giants because I have nothing against Jordan Hicks except for the fact that I think he should be throwing 102 in the 7th inning, followed by Duvall in the 8th, and followed by Ryan Walker in the 9th. I think that's your best situation. But to me, you got your 3 that are in. Birdsong is your 4. And then it comes down to, for me, Harrison. And like I said, I haven't heard anything that said he wasn't in the rotation. So Kyle Harrison, Landon Roop, I think is going to be a long guy, and Jordan Hicks. Who am I missing? Am I missing somebody there? But anyway, it looks like the rotation looks pretty decent. And it's early, and who knows? And I tell you not to overreact on spring, but really encouraging on Robbie Ray, really encouraging on Justin Verlander. And I don't know how you keep Birdsong out of this thing, Hayden Birdsong out of this thing, because he is nasty. And the Giants have been really aggressive in terms of promoting guys. And if they're ready to go, they're ready to go. So I think that's your 4. I don't know what's going to happen at 5, but I'd like to see Hicks in the 7th, but I beat that to death. So give me your thoughts on the rotation for the Giants as we're getting closer to the end of spring training. So that's kind of where we're going as far as that goes. Robbie Ray has looked good. Hicks in the rotation as of now. I just, how I feel about that. I've said it a million times. It's nothing against the guy. It's just, I think he's going to be 5 and fly again, and that puts pressure on your bullpen when he should just be the 7th. So, a Jung Hoo Lee promoting a pink Giants Hello Kitty jersey for the first 15,000. I think hurry and get your tickets. My question is, do they have a triple XL? When is that? I'm looking, by the way, if anybody is going to, and we'll bring this up a ton of times, if anybody is anybody going to opening day? I'm definitely going to opening day. And I don't know if we'll meet somewhere or if anybody's doing anything for opening day, but we are definitely going to do our normal stuff on opening day, and we'll have a good time on that. So what is it, Mariners on opening day? That's kind of weird. Hey, it's the Mariners. Ugh. But anyway, whatever. Yeah, I would imagine that it's going to be all Dodgers fans. Although Cubs are really, really popular, so I can see that. And again, they have two guys now. They don't have Ohtani, and they don't have Sasaki, and they don't have Yamamoto. But they do have, they have a couple. Seiya Suzuki is definitely Seiya Suzuki is a definitely popular player, and last year's Rookie of the Year, right? That they had last year, the Cubs, and they're popular, so I could see it. But I mean, look, I was watching some of the games that the Dodgers had against who are they playing against, and they lost actually. But Shohei hit the home run, hit the one long home run, and everybody just lost their mind. I mean, that dude's like the Beatles, Elvis, like any band that you've ever like put them all together in one. That's what he is. There. I mean, it's just crazy, man. How that's going. Corky Calhoun. How did I bring that up? Unbelievable. All right, what else do we have? Just reading some of the stuff that's going on, what everybody's saying. So what is everybody doing for St. Patty's? I would like to know, because I think we did our thing last night. I'm not sure that we'll do anything tonight because you got the Nuggets and Warriors coming on. So I thought that, I want to make sure that that we watch that and we hang out a little bit. That is going to be a good time. So I'm not sure we're going to do anything tonight. I'm not a big green beer. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I almost forgot. So over the years, I've done tons of shows on St. Patrick's Day. I've done afternoon drive shows. If you're familiar with Portland, there's a place called Kells. Kells is a really cool spot. They do that down there, and they set up tents. So there's certain cities that, I've been to Chicago on St. Patty's. I'm sure you have. But Detroit you wouldn't think of Detroit as this big Irish town, but we would go every year and for a few years, and I did 6 to 10 in the morning, right? And we went to this Irish bar in downtown Detroit, and they would, like I said, the bar itself was kind of small, but they have this big outdoor area. And so obviously it's freezing ass in Detroit at this point of the year still. And they would bring these big heated, and they would bring big heaters in there, these, gigantic looking heaters. And you would do the show from there, from this giant tent. And it could probably fill up a few hundred people in there. And I would get to the show at probably, 5:15 in the morning or something like that. And the place would open at 6 for our show. And there was a line down the block. I mean, there was already at 5:15 in the morning when I would arrive to the show in Detroit on St. Patrick's Day, there would be I don't want to overdo this, but there would probably already be 50, 60 people in line waiting. And then by the time we would start the show, 6 o'clock, we'd almost have a full joint. And then certainly by halfway through the show at like 8 o'clock, completely full. So there's like 200 people, 300 people in this tent area. Plus then the bar itself is completely full, and it's the whole thing. It's green beer, it's corned beef and cabbage, all this kind of stuff. People sucking down Jameson's or any kind of whiskey, whatever like that. And so during the show, I would have a few, but I just knew that I had to kind of keep it in check because so I'd have some Guinness or whatever. And you'd have to keep it in check because people would get so wild and out of control. And we had to bring, I can't remember exactly how many security guys, but like at a normal place, like here in San Francisco, we don't really, like we do Giants games or whatever. Pop and I would be down there. Tom and I would be down there. We didn't have security. We didn't need security. But the days in Detroit where we did these St. Patrick's Day shows, we'd have like 8 to 10 security guys like lining the stage because people would get so hammered that they would act like it was a concert or something, and they would start slamming, and they would start, because there's music going on and people are partying. And so people about, I don't know, they start getting lubed up, maybe like 7:30 in the morning, they start dancing, right? They start dancing. There's music and stuff like that. And part of the bar. So there'd be a bar over here and there's like a band playing or something, and we're doing our show. And so you could hear it, but it wasn't like overly distracting. And people would start dancing, and then all of a sudden it would kind of migrate over to where we were. And the guy I was doing the show with was a former Detroit Lion. His name was Mark Spindler, and he was about 6'5", about 290, 300 pounds. So he would start hyping up the crowd, and he was drinking. And so I'm like, okay, I got to kind of keep this thing under control. By the time we would get off the air at 10 o'clock, I'm not lying to you, there was people just strewn, like, I mean, just completely passed out, like at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just like, bro, you got to pace yourself here. And it would be full blown on, like the band's playing, it's 10 o'clock. And so I would get off, and, I had a few Guinness. It was nice, but my George was really young back then. So I would just like, I am out of here. And then we'd go somewhere later or whatever. But I mean, it's just a totally different animal. 10 o'clock in the morning, people are passed out already on tables, and It was crazy. And it would, like I said, it would start like 5:15 in the morning. It was no joke. They would line the place halfway through the show would be full. And then by the end, I'm not saying half the people, but I'd say like out of 300 people, there'd probably be a good 20 that were just like out, just already out, 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, my God, man, like they're putting a sheet over them already. Like, have a good nap. My goodness, man, it was crazy. But like I said, I've done lots of when we were doing afternoon drive shows. We do afternoon drive shows sometimes. It was like kid night. Like that's when people really got after it, and it was problematic because again, we were in a tent and you'd have a band playing, and it was like I can't even hear what I'm doing. One time, by the way, a program director, the Steve Miller Band was playing. This was in Portland. Steve Miller Band was playing, and they thought it would be a good idea if I was off to the side of the stage doing a sports show live. And we go on, and he's playing, I don't know, whatever, Steve Miller, Jungle Love. And like, I can't hear anything. And so I go to a break after the first 10 minutes because I couldn't hear myself at all. And I go, we've got to move the show back to the studio. And you got, a producer jumps on for 10 minutes because I wasn't far. And I said, or I can go back. Or, we just got to shut this thing down. And the program director's like, nope, you got to do it from there. And I'm like, I can't hear anything. So I literally just left. Went back like 30 minutes later, go back to the show. It was crazy. That's the other place. Where do you guys go, by the way? You're like, I'd love to zip up to Reno, for example. I've been to Vegas a couple of times for the tournament. The tournament is amazing. I mean, just like Thursday this week, nobody gets anything done. I went to Utah State. Utah State's in the tourney. They suck in the tourney. I think last year they actually did win a game, and then they got smoked by, I think, Purdue. They did win for the first time in a long time. Utah State won a game in the first round of the tournament. And then, the Beast last year, Purdue knocked them out. And it wasn't even close. I don't even remember what it was, but they got completely knocked out of the tournament by like 40. So, when your team's in the tournament, it's awesome. It's great. All right, what else do we have today? It is episode 90, John Lund Unleashed. Thanks for joining us. Love that you are here today. Make sure you hit us up on YouTube, John Lund Unleashed, Bay Area Sports Collective. Make sure if you see that, maybe I haven't explained this well. In the left-hand corner there, you see that B right there, Bay Area Sports Collective. That is Bay Area Sports Collective. So we're on John Lund Unleashed, obviously on YouTube, and Bay Area Sports Collective. So make sure that you check out both of those places and subscribe. We're also on X every single day at John Lund Radio, on Instagram too, at John Lund Radio. We're on Twitch if you like it there, Facebook. A lot of people hit me up there. I really appreciate it. My personal Facebook, John Lund, and then John Lund Unleashed on Facebook. If you would follow us there as well, that would be outstanding. By the way, I don't think I've told you today about my good friend. And by the way, my wife is going to make her debut on the show via video right now, which is, of course, my good friends and Dr. Riopel, which I haven't told you about today. Dr. Riopel and the Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center, Riopel, which I am doing right now, as I tell you all the time, low T, which means you can be tired and irritable, which I'm not anymore, but tired, irritable, tough to lose weight. You don't have the energy you used to have. That's what I'm doing right now, low T. So they just do a blood test on you real quick. They tell you, okay, this is what you need. They give you the exact amount. It's a procedure, and you don't have to go in for a weekly shot or anything like that. So if you click right there on the QR code, you can get your low T fixed, and you can feel like yourself again, which is absolutely great. And like I said, I've done it before where you have these weekly shots that you have to take. Don't have to do that. It's just one procedure that's going to last you for a number of months, maybe a couple times a year. You go in and you're going to feel like yourself again with Dr. Riopel and the testosterone replacement therapies that they do. It is, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but it changes your life because you feel better. You have more energy. You can just do a lot more things and feel like you used to feel. So that is testosterone therapy and low T from Dr. Riopel. And if you click there and, you want your, let's say that, you want your husband to feel better. That's it right there. Your significant other. Click on there right there, and it'll take you straight to the website, and you can make an appointment from there, or at least check out all the other things that Dr. Riopel does as well. It's not just testosterone therapy, but I've told you also about my wife. She is doing the stem cell therapy and the stem cell, and let her tell you, and there's going to be a QR code that you can click on there, but this is my wife, Lainey. We were actually in the office the other day. I told you about that. I was in there doing stem cell myself, but she was sitting right there, and the cameraman is me here. And I said, why don't you just tell people exactly what you're doing? Because she was in there doing stem cell as well, and she loves it. She's had a lot of elbow and shoulder issues. And so here's my wife, Lainey. This is actually sitting in Dr. Riopel's office, and you can thank me later for the wonderful camera work. But this is what she says. So if you don't believe me, She is definitely trustworthy. You should believe.
I'm Lainey Kern, and I recently did PRP stem cell with Dr. Riopel, and I am someone who's been in chronic pain for about 25 years. And he recently just did my left elbow and left shoulder. My shoulder is amazing. I'm down to 0 in pain. My left elbow's gone from about a 9 to a 2, and this has only been a month, so I'm extremely excited. I'm actually coming back to do my right foot next week. It's worked so well. So highly recommend him. Very precise and caring. So it's been great.
All right, so there you go. There is. She's actually been on the show many times. A lot of times, just like when the dog comes running in here. But anyway, Dr. Riopel. So check out Dr. Riopel. Does all sorts of great procedures as well. Riopel, Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center, fine sponsor of the program. I'm telling you about low T that I do, stem cells she does, but they do all sorts of other procedures that you can check out. We've been going to them for years. They're absolutely great. So Dr. Jeffrey Riopel and the Riopel Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center, fine sponsor of the program. There you go. Let's see. What else do we got? Let's see. What about an old Irish lady? Somebody's got something about an old Irish lady here. Let me see this. Okay, there you go. By the way, I don't know what it is, but I don't know if it can. It might, because I had a few Guinness last night. Guinness is that kind of thing too. I like Guinness, but when I ever buy Guinness, like let's say I'm in the store, right? And I'm not a huge beer guy, definitely like bourbon, but I'm not a huge beer guy. But had a couple of Guinness last night. It was absolutely perfect. Like maybe I had 3. I think I had 3 Guinness, 2 shots of Jameson, and 1 of the peanut butter whiskey last night, which was very nice. And then that was it. We were cool. We were good. Had the corned beef sandwich, which was very solid, and that was it. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to do more. But yeah, I couldn't do, like, it's not like you could do, 6-8 Guinness. Like but it was tasty. It was like I hadn't had a Guinness in probably maybe since last St. Patrick's Day. Solid. And it was really, I don't know what it is, where like certain things that's what you're going to do. Like I said at the beginning of the show, like I had a corned beef sandwich. It was tremendous. Not going to probably have one for another year. It's kind of like Thanksgiving dinner. Like, do you sometimes think about Thanksgiving dinner and you're eating it and you're thinking, man, this is so good. Why don't I do this more often? And it's like, why don't you do it more often? It's unbelievable. It takes all day to cook it. So actually a turkey, I found out myself when I went out on my own one time. I was actually living in Pittsburgh and I was living in a small apartment. I thought to myself, well, I was by myself and I'm like, I got to have a turkey dinner. And I threw a turkey in the oven. I did all the things that you're supposed to do. And you know how your parents are always telling you how difficult cooking a turkey is? It's not that difficult. It wasn't that hard. I was like, this isn't even that hard. It turned out fine. It wasn't bad. It wasn't dry. It was fine. I don't know why I would make that a deal on St. Patrick's Day, but I'm just saying, like, it wasn't even bad. So anyway, I was like, people are making too big of a deal of this. My mom did. I've told you those stories before. Let's see. Anything else today? I think we've covered everything in a short period of time. We might have to be short today on the 17th. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Episode 90. I did Juice by the Numbers. I showed you the piece that I have up right now at johnlundunleashed.com. I'll show you that one more time. Interesting piece on juice. And I think you probably know all those things that I write in here, but it's like by the numbers. And now you can just say, oh, I see. Because they just don't use Juice. And I don't think you can justify him being on the team, except for the fact that they had this terrible offseason. And the 49ers were like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And then they went, oh, it would be nice. And the fans would probably like if we brought back Juice. So they brought in Luke Farrell. He's going to replace Juice, but we'll see. But I wrote that piece on why they brought back Kyle Juszczyk. 49ers brought back Juszczyk for one reason, and it wasn't football. You can see that right now at johnlundunleashed.com. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you're subscribed both on Bay Area Sports Collective and on John Lund Unleashed. Check that out as well. And what story was this? I don't know if I heard this. Yeah, turkeys are easy. That's what I think. See, look at Joey backs me up on that whole thing. Turkeys are easy. I thought they weren't. And I was like, okay, turkeys are tough. And then they tell you and your parents, oh, we slaved all day. Oh, it was really hard to do that. And then I did one time by myself. And I was like, this wasn't even hard. Like they make it so easy because you put it in like a pan, you keep putting the drippings on it or whatever. And it's just got that thing that pops, right? And, you just go by directions of how many pounds the thing pops. You keep the drippings and the butter and the seasonings on the whole thing, and then the thing pops out. I remember cutting it up, going, okay, it's not hard to cut up. My dad used to be like, oh, it's so hard. I'm like, well, it's not. I'm sitting there going, this was not even hard. It was like 2.5 hours out of the oven. Come on. You guys are making too big of a deal of it. Not that big of a deal. So anyway. All right. Yeah, everybody's mom is like, oh, it's so hard. And I've told you the story before. My mom cooks once a year. And the only thing she requires is I had to, and this is a disgusting drink, but she would make me refill her Southern Comfort Old Fashioned. Southern Comfort is way too sweet, but I'd make her Southern Comfort Old Fashions all day long. And my dad would be drinking Bloody Marys, and they would work in the kitchen all day long and make such a big deal of it. You know what's harder than the turkey? The potatoes. Because like the potatoes, you got to get every lump out. And if your potatoes are lumpy, it's like, these suck. You want nice, smooth potatoes, right? And you got to do real ones. You can't do the flakes. So it's like, especially in my house, my dad was the fry man, right? So he was the potato guy. So he would do the potatoes, and they were outstanding. But you got to have, the butter and the salt and the pepper and the whole deal. And they got to be nice and smooth. Like the only thing that it makes it so that it takes so long is because you got all the sides, like stuffing and potatoes and sweet potatoes and whatever it is. Everybody's got their tradition. Some people do like the green beans with the crispy onions, which is the only time you ever buy those crispy onions, like all that kind of stuff. So it's the fact that there's a volume of food that makes it difficult. But the main course, like the center of the plate thing, the turkey, is not the hardest thing. And you got to make gravy and all that kind of stuff, that kind of stuff. But see, that's a pain in the ass too. So you're adding flour to the drippings and you're making this gravy and it can't be lumpy. And so, yeah, it's got to be seasoned right. So it's really everything around it, to be completely honest with you. But of course, we got into a conversation on St. Patrick's Day about Thanksgiving. I don't know how these things happen. I have no idea. Okay. I think that's it, man. I think we're good for a Monday edition of the show, unless anybody's got more questions, comments, thoughts. I don't know why we got on to Thanksgiving today. I hope everybody has a tremendous, let me do this. What time is it? Pacific, it's 9:39. Ugh. I promised you we would do this because it is St. Patrick's Day after all. Woo, that is good. This is my official shot cup, Battle of the Bay. Don't know if I've cleaned this thing out since the last one. Doesn't look like it. So that's not good. But salute. You got to do this. That's plenty. Woo. This is a 100 proof Hanson's double barrel 100 proof American style whiskey. It's very nice. Very nice. But because today is St. Patrick's Day, we have to do this, don't we? I'll give you a minute, unless you can't do that. Because maybe, a lot of people are working today. A lot of people have things to do. And believe me, I got a ton to do. I got a bunch of stuff to do today. In fact, I got to go to the dentist today, 1 o'clock. Or no, 12 o'clock. You going to smell this on my breath? We got 9:39. Got to go and be in there by 12. I'll be fine. Tomorrow, I hope I'm better. Today, making mashed potatoes today for the bread. Mashed potatoes are not easy. They seem to be easy because you're just like, all you do is you boil some potatoes, you put them in a big thing, you get one of those big mixers, you throw the butter in there, you throw some milk in there, salt, pepper to season them, blah, 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 blah. But you got to get all the lumps out. Like nobody likes lumpy potatoes. Lumpy potatoes, like, come on, man. That just means you didn't take enough time to make sure that you had all the, it's like, oh, geez, potatoes, last minute, I get, got to do it. Got to make sure. Well, I think you got a day drink, don't you? I mean, today's St. Patrick's Day. I mean, if you're not day drinking today, I don't know what you're doing. You know what the best time of the year is, because the 17th is today? When St. Patrick's Day falls on the opening of the NCAA tournament, which is Thursday. You ever had that happen? That's insane. I've been at parties where it's like, it's St. Patrick's Day and it's that Thursday of the tournament. It's like, anyone want to go up to Reno? I'd like to go up to Reno actually for that. It is so fun being in a sports book because I'm not going to go to Vegas, but it is amazing. Yeah. Cheers to everybody, man. Even if you can't, oh, wow. Pine Needle says he's on number 3. Even if you cannot have a cocktail because maybe you're a responsible member of society, which I am not. I understand. You're on number 3 already. Wow. That's crazy. See, I'm not going to get blackout. I got to go to the dentist. He's probably going to give me the gas again. So probably by the end, and probably tonight I'll have a couple. I've already done like I said, I've already done corned beef. I did that last night. So I don't have to do that. I don't know what we're going to do as far as tonight is concerned, but we have to do a shot of whiskey on the show today out of my official Battle of the Bay cup. So I got to wash this thing after today, man. But, I got to think that whiskey is going to probably take the majority of anything that's in there and probably kill it. Oh, you did drink enough over the weekend? All right. But yeah, why not? I mean, if everybody can get to a shot, that's why I'm stalling this a little bit so that we can all be together. If you don't want to, if you can't, I understand that. Phoenix, there you go. Then I totally understand that. Let's see what else. 5 a.m. Telling you, you should, man. That thing, like I said, none of the places were as crazy as that because people are just like, Plus, I mean, especially if you're working from home. I mean, I almost think that your boss knows that you're going to get after it a little bit today. That you're going to take a little bit of time off early, right? Yeah, I would think so. Let's see. Yeah, no, true story. 100%. 100%. Yeah, they did have problems because, like I said, they were just using it as an excuse. I mean, there was a lot of people that I talked to that were drinking, and I was like, don't you have work? Or, I mean, what's going on today? And they're like, oh, that my boss understands. My boss totally understands. It's St. Patrick's Day. It's like, wow. All right. Steve, I got to tell you, there's I think I've told this story. I might have told it late last week, but there's a new Irish place in Walnut Creek, and I was there for a meeting, quote unquote, and I had a Guinness. That's right, I did have a Guinness that day. It was a few weeks ago. A new Irish bar that they have there on Locust Street, and the guy who runs the joint was like, you got to try this deep fried corned beef and cabbage thing. And I'm like, first of all, that doesn't sound like it's going to fit my diet, but I said, okay. And the cabbage was crispy, and then the corned beef was inside of it, and it had amazing seasoning. And so you bite into this thing. It was unbelievable. But what's super smart about it was not too much, but it had a lot of the sodium intake that day for me was not probably, it was way above. And so, of course, what it makes you want to do is drink. But it was a corned beef cabbage wrapped in the cabbage, and it was deep fried. And so the cabbage was crispy but good. And then it had the corned beef inside. Unbelievable. Because a lot of people are like, they don't like the soggy cabbage there. But my buddy last night was having corned beef and cabbage when we were out, and he was like, awesome. He loved it. All right, let's do it. Are you saying no? Are you saying no to the cabbage part of it? Yeah, a lot of people don't like the cabbage part, if that's what you're talking about. A lot of people don't like that. So anyway. All right. What else do we have? What else? Yeah, that's a great point right there. Can't call it day drink if you don't start in the morning. I remember I was in Ireland, and I have a great, in fact, I should have had it for today. I dropped the ball big time. There was a chalkboard there, and it had this great Irish saying about something along the lines of what you just talked about, where it's like, you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning, but it was something much better than that in an Irish way. Hopefully you don't feel like I have problems just because I'm doing this. I feel like I'm doing it for the show. I feel like I'm doing it for the people. It is March 17th. I do think that we have to absolutely positively do this because it is St. Patrick's Day, right, laddies? So one salute to you. And I will let's down this whiskey, and then we'll call it a day. But I hope everybody has a great day. In fact, let's just do this. I'm not going to sign off whatever. Oh, nothing like a 945 shot of 100 proof American whiskey. Maybe I drank more than I thought last night because that was a little rough going down. I'm not going to lie to you. My eyes watered a little bit on that one. Actually, now that I'm tasting it, it's actually very nice, and I'm off to a nice start today. Very nice. I actually feel much better now. Nice. Very nice. Like I said, that is Hanson's from Sonoma, American single malt whiskey, double barrel, 100 proof at 9:45 in the morning. But we had to do it. I mean, we just had to do it. You don't have to judge me on that. It's St. Patrick's Day. So I hope everybody's doing great. All right, that'll do us for today, episode 90. If you missed anything, Juice by the Numbers, Juice Piece. Mason, I think Jordan Mason is a big loss. Denver at Golden State is a massive game. We'll talk about it tomorrow, but I showed you the standings just really, really quickly. If you just jumped in a little bit late, you think to yourself, man, the Warriors are just playing such great ball. Nobody's going to catch them. They're going to do this, and they're going to do that, and then. And all of a sudden you look and you go, God, Minnesota's won 8 in a row, and they're a 6. So they can be as high as 2. They're 3 in the loss column back of the Lakers, the Grizzlies, the Nuggets, and the Rockets, all with 25. Nobody's catching the Thunder, but it makes tonight's game a really important game, and they play Denver twice down the stretch. So a big game for the Warriors tonight. Find your own, Dre. I don't want the sleepy time of Steph Curry jumping the shark, and I fear that it will be now that Dre is doing it. Told you on Moody, that's Moses Moody, not Jake. Giants rotation. Birdsong was amazing yesterday with 8 strikeouts. He's got to be in the rotation, doesn't he? Tourney time, which we're going to talk more about it. And I'm going to look into That's just terrible by me. The bracket, that's way too small to read. But we will get into some sort of a bracket thing, and I'll look to see if we can do something where if we all want to get into a bracket that we don't have to join something. Like at ESPN, I'm pretty sure, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm pretty sure on ESPN you have to do some sort of a join or be an insider or have some sort of an account or something. Like you can't just join, I think. Let's see if I can find one of those. We can have some fun with a bracket and talk some trash here. Do remember the Bay Area Sports Collective. You can and should be subscribing there on YouTube, as well as John Lund Unleashed. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitch. We're on X at John Lund Radio. A lot of people watching on that. I have not checked in on Instagram today, where you have another chat there. Good morning to everyone there. Just want to make sure that I'm not missing any questions or comments. We are good over there. Very, very cool. And I think that is it for today. Told John Moody, Giants rotation, tourney time, random. We've done a fair amount today. I don't know that I have a caboose today, which I'm going to let you down. I'm sorry. I'm sorry on that. Yeah, I didn't pull up a one. God dang it. All right. Sorry about that. And I think that's it. All right. Good to go. Big game tonight with the Warriors. We'll talk a ton about that tomorrow. Mile High matchup. If you didn't see the piece, that's what it looks like. JohnLundUnleashed.com. Why Juice is really back. You can see the fans are absolutely ecstatic that Juice is back, and that's why he's back. That's little Luke Farrell in the corner who was going to replace him. And there's Jed going, God, we better do something because the fans are getting pissed. Let's bring back Juice. So that's at JohnLundUnleashed.com. So you can check out that piece. Do make sure that your alerts are on because we're going to do more stuff throughout the day. I'm not going to just be some drinking fool. We got more stuff that we got to put up. Plus, I think I'm working on a deal tonight where we do a post for the Warriors Nuggets. And I think I'm going to be on Krug's channel tonight, Larry Kruger. So make sure that if you listen or watch the Krug show, I think I'm going to be on with Krug after the Nuggets tonight. So you're actually not done with me for the day. So we got that going on. And let me just check one more time in the chat line. You guys will probably throw me into something and I'll be on here for 20 more minutes, which I don't mind. I'm just saying, I know I blew it today. I will double caboose you tomorrow. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I take full responsibility. Well, whose else responsibility would it be? Amsterdam. We could get into Amsterdam stories. I've told you about the one. I've told you about the Raiders one. Let's see. I guess that's it. Okay, that'll be great. Hey, thanks for hanging out today. We always appreciate it. As we always tell you, we're up to like 4,500 or close to it on the account right now. So we're almost to 5,000. We get to 5,000, we're going to do a big party. And I really appreciate everybody for growing the channel. So yeah, we're getting close to 5,000 on Unleashed on YouTube. So thank you so much for that. Everybody have a tremendous St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day, laddie. Thanks again to Skills for our lone super of the day. Gave us the dream, the Sean Kemp dream. And I told you the Sean Kemp story where I thought he was going to rip my face off. And he probably actually was justified in doing that. So there's that to you. But everybody have a great St. Patrick's Day. Please be safe. Don't drink and drive. I'll see you tonight on Krug Show. We're going to do a post for Warriors and Nuggets. And I will also stream that on my channel. So if you want to stay over here, you can do that as well. But everybody have a great St. Patrick's Day. Thanks for helping the channel grow. We really appreciate it. And one more time, John Lund Unleashed, Bay Area Sports Collective, and JohnLundUnleashed.com. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at JohnLundUnleashed.com. JohnLundUnleashed.com.
Goodbye!